I've made it really great, big, come and inspire others. And I was wondering, what would I say? But we could also say how we have failed, so that you watch out against our failure, and then the end result will still be the same, isn't it? Yes. Okay, let's look at it. You know, I was supposed to talk about discipline. Yes, I think I'm supposed to talk about discipline, and this is not discipline way of doing things. I've been given 10 minutes, I've spent my time, I've said nothing about discipline. This is indiscipline. And of course, that is how it happens most of the time. And when we talk about discipline, the word came to my mind was disciples. And I went to look, how come you're talking about disciple? I think there is a discipleship, which is a manifestation of discipline. And when we look at discipleship, it is the course through which we learn in order to develop the will and the message of the Master, and to feel free propagating that ourselves easily. It comes from a Latin word, which is discipulus, and it is talking about learning, being committed to the Master. And then, of course, we can look at discernment, which is having knowledge revealed to you, but it comes through a process. Brian Tracy, we all know, in the world of business and success psychology, made it very clear that no matter how much you are versed with the latest skills and techniques to achieve any advancement or great outputs in whatever you want to do, if there is no discipline as an ingredient in that procedure, the whole process is done. Now we'll say that it's very important for us to know that discipline can be defined as the ability to focus on one's action until the goal is achieved. But most of the time, the goal stands so strong in front of you, and you forget the process. And that is not going to help very much. What is not discipline? They are not rules, it's not punishment, it's not repetition or reinforcement. And it is all that has to do with focus, commitment. And there are, of course, there are passions, there are things that you hold very tightly. There is one thing that comes out very clearly when we talk about discipline is that you will have to do what we call rituals. Rituals come when you have difficulties. Because when habits are explained as unconscious things that we do without effort, then when you start having difficulty to move forward, then something needs that you do what we call a reassessment, which is very, very important. When you start reassessing yourself, what you will do is identify that something is going on, which needs that you are not more functional with the old system. It will ask you to develop new rules. And those new rules, you will have to line them up, and it will become a ritual. When it is a ritual, you do it religiously in a process that is very strict. And when you do it for a long time, over and over, it becomes a habit. At that time, you succeed unconsciously. Now, when it's working unconsciously, we feel carried by the success. And as we move on, we are not consciously looking at how we can add new values to adapt to changes, because when you are working unconsciously, you may not be aware of the changes that are taking place around you. And that is where the trouble gets, and we now be happy to go back into the rituals. When we talk about rituals, look about all what is happening in organized structures. Rituals are taught out procedures. Most of those who build these rituals, we don't see them in active life. They meditate, they pray, they sit down, and they are lost as they look into the horizon, and they invent new procedures. And then, of course, if you become a disciple, you'll be able to pick those rituals and you move on. What happens in the business world is that, just like the success can take you into some joy and relax and comfort zone, you become carried to the point where you don't have the discipline of going back to check if the rituals have evolved, because they do evolve. Now, when you comfort yourself with the satisfaction of your five senses, you are busy. Because those senses are meant to highlight a dimension of your existence, the being on earth, which is the least of you. When you start asking questions about where do I come from and where am I going from here, suddenly there is a quest for you to move forward. That is when your five senses are put to test. Then you start feeling the pain of the surrounding environment, the troubles you are very much aware of. Remember what happens when we use substance abuse. We distance ourselves from the pain, from the frustrations. And even though it's temporal, that is what they do. So when you limit yourself to the five senses, you are having a basic life. When you question beyond those senses, you want to move to the next step. At that point, you will feel pain. And this pain is meant to bring you into a new height. But most of the time, that is not what really happens. Most of you must understand that nature is designed to put this situation you call pain, which I call a sensation, so as to give it a very normal position. When you call it pain, your intention is to use it to benefit something, and all you can benefit is the satisfaction of one of your five senses. But when you call it a sensation, you will look beyond your five senses, and then there will be an opportunity for you to grow. Every time that the environment is going to move you out of your dream and your passion, your five senses will be attacked. It will either be through what you eat, which is changing your shape and making you uncomfortable. It will either be hostile vision, very provocative and insulting words. It may be very toxic smells, or slaps in the place of a caress. And when you receive those treatments, it is information fed through your five senses to be able to bring you down in the scale. So what do? The message is that you distance yourself from the five senses. And that is when sometimes what you call pain becomes a natural sensation that pushes you into another level of thought and reflection so that you can connect with your higher being. And this higher being is always there for you. And that is why even in our regular lives, all of this knowledge is available, but it is not made accessible. Because it is not easy to bring this number of people into a hall. You are all independent people. And what gives me the right to stand here and speak to you when you all have realized things, some which are greater than what we have done, yet just simply because we are not aware of this. We hope that at the end of this, we will all pick our greatness and be able to come on a stage anywhere. And you can do it like my brother Tito, on any square. You can go there and lecture about it. You don't always need to have an audience. You can create one from the first discussion. So we are discussing something that every time we hear one of us complaining, I'm feeling uncomfortable, the five senses have been touched. How do we educate ourselves, distance ourselves from the five senses and all what they bring to us? There are rituals that can help us grow into that height. There are rituals that work in the morning, there are rituals that work in the evening. You can create other rituals along the way. But remember, in each of your rituals, try to look beyond the five senses. Try not to listen always to the things that bring you pleasure. The best lesson I learned on discipline is that it is not concerned about your feelings. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Because that is when you need it. When you start feeling very bad and uncomfortable, discipline stands in front of you. Are you willing to look at it? Most of the time, no, because the tendency is to look at where the problems are coming from. And this looking is always in the opposite direction. Discipline says that check your rituals. That is, discipline is an aspect of what you do within. It's not what others do to you. That's why we say it's not punishment, it's not all of that. Discipline is what are you doing within yourself so as to move to the next level. The first thing is distance yourself from the five senses. Accept that it is normal to be hungry. Accept that it is normal not to be understood and be rejected or not to be accepted. Accept that after this show, you don't clap for me. Also accept that your food may not be nicely cooked. And of course, accept that you are not beautiful, you are not handsome, you are not rich, you are not wealthy. When you move in this journey, the whole landscape changes.